All right, welcome back, welcome back. So today we are going to be powering up SQL. We need our SQL databases or the SQL server to be online because we're going to be powering up some important boxes to come like WSUS, MDT, SharePoint, and so forth. So without further ado, let's get started. I have basically my domain controller and I have an SQL server over here that's built and ready to go. So one cool thing, one good thing to know, you can use what we call service accounts, especially for SharePoint and SQL. So with SQL, you can use regular Active Directory accounts or you can use service accounts. Now, it really depends on how your environment is set up, and this is going to be basically based on your policies, your security best practices, and all that stuff. For me, for this lab, I'm going to build it showing you just how we have it set up just because it's lab purposes. But for your environment, it would dictate based on your policy and your SOPs. So just pay attention to that because certain accounts may need certain service accounts added or created. Now, one cool thing about Active Directory is that once you try to get service accounts ran, the key thing is you gotta wait about 10 hours for replication to go across all domain controllers, and it's painful. You gotta wait a good time. So we can start off with this is just me showing you how we would create a service account if we're going to use it, so that we can use that service account to install SQL later. All right, so we're going to do add up here, and we're going to add, and we're going to look for KDS root key, and basically what we want to do, we want to set the time. So EFFECTIV, so effective time. And what we're going to say is, right, get time or get date. And once we get the date, we're going to pretty much add hours to it. And then we're going to minus the 10 hours that we would be waiting. Right, so you're pretty much like tricking the clock basically. You're, instead of waiting the 10 hours, it's like you get the time and then you add back the 10 hours to it, so the DC can go through what's called like a convergence to get it prepared so you can create your GMSA's accounts. Okay, and it's also to prevent like password generation from occurring and all that good stuff. So normally you can start off with this key and we'll hit enter up here. What happened? Effective. Oops, spelling error. EFFECTIVE. EFFECTIV. So it should be effective time. There we go. Tell you, man, you gotta pay attention to these spellings. All right, so basically this string, we added it to trick the times to say, okay, we did the whole what you call it. So now this is a command that I would use to add just a basic account. So new service account, the name SQL admin, which is just a service account that I'm using for Active Directory to manage services on SQL. The DNS host will be there, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and then it's done. So when you go into manage service account, you should see the managed service account that I just created, and it's right here inside of AD. So now you can use this service account to do the install later to come when we're doing the install for SQL. And if you go to properties and you just look at this account, basically it's just an account that you can use to, it's a part of administrators. You see that it has authentication groups, enterprise domain, like it just basically one of those accounts that is set right to is set on the domain so that you can use it to install and I guess manipulate the services that you're going to use on SQL. So we're going to jump over to our SQL box, right? And this is the installation piece. So let's log in now. We're going to log in as a domain admin on our SQL server. And as you can see, if you were with me the last time I did BG info, you will see that this is actually BG info pulling right from the script that I pushed out. I might clean this up a little. It's taking up a lot of space. I wanted it to look just like right here. But since most of these are using multiple MAC addresses and IP addresses and subnets, I might change this up a little bit inside of the GPO. But anyways, let's move forward. So you want to go to the internet and you're gonna be downloading SQL. If it's your first time, we need to go to Microsoft, and this is where you will find. So you can do a quick search, and we're looking for 2022. So we want to go delay this so that we can test it. All right, so search for it. Normally, if you haven't logged into Microsoft for a while, or if it's your first time, it's going to ask you to register. All right. So once you go through the registration piece and it allows you in, it will take you here. So I've already did that just to skip this step. Now it's going to tell you can try SQL Server on premises. And it gives you a couple options. So we're not dealing with Azure or anything. We're dealing with on-premise. So we'll click download now, right? And it's going to basically download the file to your downloads folder. So if you go to downloads, you will see it will come here. Okay, this is where it will drop the SQL starting package that you'll need. All right, so waiting for this thing to come over. Running kind of slow. Okay, here's where I was saying that you have to do the whole registration piece. All right, so you'll have to fill all this out and then click download for it to take you over to the downloads and everything. Right, once you get into that piece, it's gonna also prep you. So I've already done this, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to this PC. Inside of my public share, I'm gonna go ahead and go to my folder, and I'm going to add a folder here called software. And since I already have this on my other drive, I'm gonna go ahead and drop this in here real quick so that I can push it over. So let's see if I have access to it right quick. Let's see if I can use another another drive. What just happened? I think I just deleted my I just disconnected the drive share. All right, let's go to my NAS. We can try that. So let's try to use the NAS. So my NAS is 92. Okay, so we just need to do 172.16.1.72 and browse. Let's just think. Oh no, I did 71. Messed that up. All right, so just wait for this to think. Let me pause this because it's gonna take forever when you go through that continuous loop. All right, so we're back. That NAS thing is not gonna work for me. I've been having issues. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go ahead and mount this I'm gonna mount this ISO into this drive so that it will pop up as a drive. So it's the same way wherever you downloaded it, right? I'm just gonna mount it from there so that we can keep going. So on the DVD drive, as you can see, once you double click, like I said in the beginning, once you do the download and everything, it's gonna run you through. The evaluation period is gonna look something like this, right? So this is what will show up once you start. At the beginning, it's gonna ask you, do you want to do the install? So let me run it back. So when it's finished, it looks like this. So let me close this out so you can see what it will look like, just for those that have never seen it before. So let's go here. So if I'm running it for the first time, right, it looks like this. This is what I was trying to show you. So you would get to this after you go through the whole part where you fill in all the information and you download it. It's going to download a file, and the file will look similar to this one right here at the top. Right there, you'll double click this. Once you double click that, it's going to open up this, and then it'll give you 3 installation types. Basic is just generic. It doesn't really come with a lot like the management studio and all that stuff. So I would not use this. I would just go to the download media, and then when you click here, it's going to ask you where do you want to download it. So you can download it to an ISO, which is what I did, and then I mounted it. But you have an option to choose where you want to download this. Okay, I'm going to click close, exit out of here, and now this will take me back into my ISO, which is mounted here. From here, this is where you want to double click and go to setup, and we're going to run this now to start the process. Now, once you're in here and you're ready to do the installation, you go to installation, geez, and you're going to go to new SQL Server standalone, and this will start the process to do SQL. You can do the free right here. You can do the developer express evaluation. If you have a key, you can enter it here, right? Pick whichever one you have and type it in. For us, we're just going to do the evaluation. I did try to get a key for testing purposes, but I don't think they have any keys for me. So once you have the key in, you'll click next from here. Let me go ahead and pause and let me see if I find a key real quick. All right, so I wasn't able to actually find a key. Normally with Microsoft, you can get like child keys that you can use, you know, but there's nothing available. So no worries, just do the evaluation and then go ahead and click next, bring it to that stage, and we want to go ahead. Use Microsoft Update to check for updates. Recommended, that's fine, even though I don't like it, but that's cool. And now we're going to go through the setup files. It's going to run its checks. It's going to say Windows Firewall is a warning. If you check on this, it's going to say the firewall is enabled. Make sure the appropriate ports are open, yada, yada, yada. So let's go ahead and fix this. Go firewall. We are going to change all of these, turn them off. We don't need them right now. We got a domain that we're working with. So click apply. Okay, firewall is done. And then let's rerun this test. So you want to get all passes, basically. Anything that's in a triangle is just a warning that, hey, you might want to take a look at this. So let's rerun this. We want to try to get all green. All right, good to go. So here's where I was talking about. We're not using Azure. And this is where I was saying you can use service principal IDs. So this area requires you to enable Microsoft Defender for the cloud, peer review, and AZ for Azure Active Directory. We don't need this, so I'm going to uncheck it because I'm not doing anything on Azure. So all of this, if you were working with Azure, you can click it, but we are not for this purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. Right now, inside of the features that you will need, you can do and select all, and it will install everything that you need basically for your SQL setup. If you don't need it, you can pretty much take out whatever you don't need, right? But basically, if you click through everything, it will tell you exactly what service you'll need for what, and all that stuff. For us, we're just going to select all, and this is fine. But we're going to change where we're going to install the root for this, because SQL is something that grows, and my C drive only has 7.4 gigs. So I have a data drive that I'm going to use, which is just an expanded, but this is dynamic. So basically, if I'm running out of space, this will keep expanding as we grow for my virtual machine. So this is an empty drive that I added. It's on the S side, so I'm going to make sure I change all of this to S. That's all you got to do, and it will create it for you. So I recommend to keep these separate. Do not install this on the same drive your OS is on. Just in case it crashes, you can always go back and pull these directories over. All right, once this is good, click next. And if you go over here to this drive, you will see, obviously, once we start doing the installation, this is going to populate with all the stuff to come. All right, so default instance name, you can keep this as MySQL. However, security purposes, like I said, your organization will dictate. By best practices, it's not good to name this the same thing, because everybody knows MySQL is the default instance for SQL Server. And if you're trying to hack into an SQL Server that has all the database, that's how they're going to target it. So this is where you would like to change your instance. Right? Call it something that you can remember, but it's not the default. So default, or you can do a name. Right? Default, you could do a name. I'm just going to leave it as a default because we're just testing the lab. Like I said, for demo purposes, right? And this is probably something you might want to write down too, because, you know, I tend to forget this. So MS SQL and then server is the name of your instance. And you can create other instances later too, but the default is where we're going to do. All right. Now let's click next. Port range. All right. So another security issue, right? Like I said, you need to change these based on your policy. I'm just going to click next. This is just a lab. No one can really hack into this because they're not going to get anything, even if they do. This is just for training. All right, so this is where I was saying you can change the account. So all of these, I'm going to change to automatic, right? And you can change the accounts. So if you click on this, it will show you that the accounts that it's using for the service is SQL Server Agent, right? That's the account name. If you want to change it to whatever, right, let's go back. If you wanted to change it to whatever, this is where you will click browse and click advanced. We'll find, you can put SQL admin as who you're going to use, which is the account we created earlier. So you can see now this is the account that we created earlier, and this is the account that will be responsible for starting all of these services. Okay. Now, one thing we didn't set on here on Active Directory, we didn't set a password because it really didn't ask us for one. You don't want these to be an account where it asks you for password, right? Because if it expires, you can run into problems with services not starting and all that good stuff, right? So all of those you can leave blank. You don't need it. Right there, we'll browse and we'll do the same thing. This is the guy that's going to be responsible for all of these accounts. And like I said, you can use administrator, you can use whatever. Not it's not good to use the built-in accounts though. So you want to create something that you're using different accounts for different services. Okay. Let's see if I could copy this and paste it down here. Sure I can. All right. So I was able to copy and paste everything right there. So it makes life a little bit easier. No password is set because these are, like I said, service account. Everything looks fine. Under correlation, you can check this. You can see, you can cut, what's triggered? So we're saying that the service account login and password is not valid. And this is for most of these guys. And I didn't have a password set for these. What is it asking me for? So it's saying login or password is not set. So that means I might need to set a password for this account. So let's go ahead. Okay, let's see if it will give me option to. All right, so we need to change these then back because it's not going to allow me, because the account that I used earlier doesn't have a password on it. Let's use my account. And then I'm going to put a password in. So let's do, okay, so I can put something in here. All right, so let's change all of these to this account. Whew. All right, so service account that I created was not set up properly because I didn't give it a password when I set this up over here. So we'll just bypass it because I'm not going to go back. We're going to continue with SQL. But you get my drift. When you set this up, you need to set it up accurately so you can use it to manage these accounts. Okay. Now the errors went away, as you can see. So that was basically what it was asking for. Now this right here you could customize depending on your SOPs as well. So Click next. Now, this is one of the key things that we can worry about. You can do a mixed mode where you can do SQL authentication and Windows, right? I like to do that because I can log in with both systems, right? Well, like I said, your policies will dictate. I'm going to also add this guy as the member, and then I will fix his account up later, right? Then I'm going to add administrator. So those are accounts, they have unrestricted access to the database. And then if you had a group of individuals, right, for administration, you can probably put them in a group and probably add them, because you probably could do, let me see if it allows us to do groups. It should be, so domain admins. There you go. So if you had a group, say all of your group was, let's create one over here. So inside of my Active Directory, we have a group. Let's make a group. And we're going to call these guys SQL administrators, right? And then over here, we're going to go back to add now, and let's add SQL administrators. Great. So then anyone that comes into your organization, as long as they are part of the SQL administration, they already have access to the group. So you just have to put them inside of Active Directory later on, right? Data directories, like I said, make sure this is good. Everything's going to be on the S drive, right? Files good. The memory, like I said, the recommended, you can go with the recommended, you can go with the default. The max, you're normally about 8 gig is good for a great SQL server, but like I said, you can just let it start from 0. I have dynamic running, so I should be fine. If you want to enable file stream for transaction, you can do that here, and you can enable this on it later, and then allow clients to access your file stream data if you wanted to do that later, and click next. Same thing over here, server configuration and analysis. This is good to go. Everything's on the S drive, it's just verified. And then over here, you want to add a current user, and we're going to go ahead and add SQL check. We want to do the administrators, right? Add again. I'm just going to add that guy over there later so it's easier. Cancel. And then this is good to go. So we'll add those guys and click next. Port numbers, all this stuff, right? It's going to generate the new SSL certificate for you to use to communicate between your master and your nodes and all that good stuff. This is advanced stuff when you scale it out later. So just accept the default and go ahead and next. And all of this is happening just because of the choices that we made earlier. Right? This should be default. Click next. And then these are the prereqs. Right? As you can see. Now, over here, you see it created all that stuff that's happening right on the D drive, and then we're going to go ahead and install. And here you are, it's going to start the installation process, SQL Server. I know it was a lot to go through a whole bunch, but let's pause it right here and let it run through. And it should complete really fast. I know it never really takes a long time, but anyway, I'm gonna pause it, and when we get to the end, we'll talk again, okay? All right, so we are back. It says installation successful once you went through everything, and then here you can check to see everything that was installed. And if everything looks good to go and you didn't have any errors, then you should be able to go ahead and click close. And that, my friend, is how you will install an instance of SQL Server. Now, there's one thing that normally is installed, but it's kind of separated. And I wanted to show you the management tools. So it used to be part of the package. So when you go to start and you're looking for SQL, you don't see it here no more, right? You see configuration manager, but you don't see the management tools. So we need to also go ahead and download this. We need to get this Joker. We need it. So we need to download here, and same place in Microsoft when you went before. This is just telling you PowerShell to use. But we, in order, when you're doing the whole configuring your your SQL, you're gonna need your SSMS, which is your server SQL for the 2S Management Studio, right? So you might want to also go ahead and download that piece while you're at it. And because then sometimes I know if you just install and you leave it out and you're trying to get in, here when you type in this, it's not the same thing that you're looking for. So when this starts up, this only shows you, as you can see, these are all your pipes and your configuration that you need for the backend. But you'll be missing the management studio, and then you start scratching your head like, what happened? So you definitely need to make sure that you download this as well. So let's see if it's in my downloads as yet. Okay, so it says unconfirmed, so it's probably still working on it right there. All right, so it's coming along. Let's pause and wait for it to come through, and then we'll start again. All right, so we're back. So this is showing that the download is about 99% complete. So up here, it looks like it's almost there. And then I'm just waiting for this to change out. There we go. So as you can see, now we have our management studio, and we need to make sure that is good to go. Now, as usual, I want to change this as well. Put it on the S drive. I don't want nothing on my C drive, right? And then we're gonna go ahead and do install. Click yes. And then you're just gonna watch this to go through. The management studio doesn't take a long time to install compared to the other one. So this we could probably wait for, or we can pause. But it's fairly easy. It's just like icing on top of the cake. But it's really something that you need for managing your SQL Server. Okay, unless you're gonna try to do everything in command. So remember, this is how we got to it. Install it right there. And also too, if you're looking for the data tools as well, these are normally like for reporting services and stuff like that, right? You will need to also install them. So you'll go here as well. And reporting service is also another one, right? It's one of those other things too that you should also have in your toolbox. There you go. So let's show you. This is going to take us also to the same site. And 2022, I haven't seen what changes came out, but when we get inside, you will definitely see what all actually changed. But if you needed to install, like I said, the SSDT version, this is where you would go and install. So you can do the offline installation right there. and basically you're just trying to figure out how it's hosted. So somewhere up here, that's the portal piece. You probably could find it under the offline. So let's see. So you can use a command feature to download the bootstrap and go through the whole process of getting all that extra stuff if you needed it. All right, there you go. So this is good, and it's just asking us to restart. So we're going to go ahead and execute that command, and let's restart the system. Okay. And then we're going to take a look to go ahead and log in to see how the new 2020 looks. Good thing about VMs, they don't take that long to restart. It goes through really, really fast compared to traditional computer systems. Alright, so the login is good. The restart was successful. So let's go ahead. Log in as your domain administrator. And over here, I need to make sure that I'm going to go ahead and add. I'm going to go ahead and add inside of SQL administrators, properties, members. I'm going to go ahead and add myself as well into this group. You always want to play with both systems at the same time. So your DC is one of those powerful blocks that you'll always be working back and forth on. Right, so waiting for this to log in. Let's wait for it. All right, so seems like we are back. Everything looks good. I'm logged in. As you can see, that's the computer name, and I'm logged in. All right, so let's take a look at and see if SQL Server Manager that we were looking for, the studio, if it came up. So there we go. So Management Studio is loaded. This is what we want to see so that we can configure our SQL box. And I'm excited to see what 2022 looks like. Is it 2022 or 2023? I think it's 2022. Server 2022, yeah. So this is loaded. We're about to get inside. There we go. So server name is that right there. Like I said, remember we did both authentications, so we can do SQL or we can do Windows. Since I've already done Windows, I should be able to connect because it's already pre-built in. Okay. And I'm logged in. My databases, as you can see, just the basics, right? Nothing too major inside, right? Logins, you can look at those to see all the logins that are there. So as you can see, all the administrators that we put, they all have access to get in. Those are the guys that we set up earlier. You do have your SA system administrator as well. You can look at the roles and everything that's there: sysadmins, database admin, DB creators, and all that good stuff, right? Credentials, you can verify all that stuff and the roles. So basically, not much has changed since. It seems like we added a few different objectives or objects. Sorry, but nothing too crazy or different compared to the past SQLs. Okay, so It's looking good, right? If you wanted to create more databases and stuff, you can always come here and do new database, right? That's for another video. You can start PowerShell and run different PowerShell modules, but you'll probably have to load it up in here, right? So to work, because PowerShell can do use to build these out as well. You can build different databases and stuff like that. We will be doing different databases and different loads to come, because we're going to now expand on this SQL box. So the data, as you can see, just by install alone, it took up a little bit of space on this drive by itself. So if you look at this and you look at this, you can see if I were supposed to do the installation alone, I'll probably run out of space on the C drive. So it's kind of like a big install, almost 4 gigs by itself, and I only have about 2 free on here. So I don't need nothing else on the C drive. I'll expand it if needed, but right now I'm good. Everything will be on the data, which is expanded this. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is just a basic install of server of SQL 2022 on a Windows Server 2022 box. All right, we will configure this later on in a different video, but I think the timeline for this is good. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like the feedback, if you like everything that we're doing, just let us know. We appreciate you, and we will see you next.